Hello, and on this crazy, ridiculous morning where we've all woken up to realize that we don't know who, but a whole bunch of people, quite a few millions in fact, in the UK, have chosen to exit the EU. And I know so many of the FFU clients, Weath Chefs in the making, are absolutely stunned. And there is a lot of anxiety and fear. I've seen posts in the JFDI group and the FFU group, all posting like, what is going to go on now? Because there is a lot of drama going on. Right now, there is a big, big storm. And I'd love to say a storm in a teacup, but I think it's a little bit more than a teacup. It's most probably a storm in a big soup bowl. But this is really key. First, you remember this is a storm. So, in this live cast, I just want to share with you Brexiting. Okay, you know what? It's happened. So, how do we deal with that emotionally? And this can apply to a lot of just big things in our life. So how does this apply to us emotionally? And then what are the things you need to be considering as the storm is going on? And specifically, how it affects your financial well-being. So many FFU clients and JFDIs and, Weath Chef clients here in the UK. So I'll be speaking specifically for you in terms of your ISAs, your SIPs, your investments, what it means in terms of now, welcome to the world of having a volatile currency. But also if you're outside of the UK, if you're in the US, if you're in South Africa, in the EU, what is it likely going to mean for you over the next few weeks? So great to see a whole lot of you joining here. And wow, you know, Cara's in the background having a little bark there and also sharing what's going on. So you can also put some questions if you want below this. I'll try and answer those as they come up. So just really firstly, I just want to say to everybody who's feeling a little bit thrown, you know, my heart goes out to you. I know just so many of my amazing clients like, you know, Amanda and Suzanne, I've seen so many posting, feeling quite devastated. You know, Lucy, you've all been posting on Facebook this morning. You're in shock, you're stunned. And so the key principle, especially when it comes to your financial well-being and your money, but in life in general, is never make any key decisions with something so as vital as your financial well-being from a place of trauma, from a place of shock, from a place of emotional recoil, because that's exactly where you're in now. And as tempting as it is to feel you've got to rush to make some decisions, should you be getting out of investment? Should you be buying? Should you be selling? Should you be leaving the country? What should you do? What's the currency going to do? The best thing you can do is just breathe. Just breathe and notice it. You know, there's a lovely phrase on machinery when you're on medication, when you're going to be a little bit stunned and not in a place where you can actually just clearly think. It says, you know, do not operate heavy machinery. Well, we need to add a byline to that and go, you know, do not make any big financial decisions, because you're not going to be able to make them from an empowered place. So that is the really first thing. Just allow yourself to go through whatever emotion is going through. Notice those, but do not dare open your investment account. Do not make a decision to buy or sell or anything. Just separate and observe. This is a real great opportunity for you to also notice what is the specific emotion coming up for you. Are you pissed off? Are you angry? Are you feeling fearful? Are you feeling confused and all off center? Because whatever that is, you're going to notice what is one of your primary habitual emotions. And I'm using this because it's what happens is we get actually addicted to a certain number of emotions, which gets wired in our brain. So this is a fantastic opportunity when you have any big emotional upset. And it can be what's happening now, where it's something externally from you. It could be a relationship thing. Notice, where do you go to? because this will also give you a great insight into some of your money emotions and your patterns and what are you believing about yourself and your financial well-being. So when something external happens, where do you go to? And this is such a wonderful way to observe, and what is the meaning you're giving to it? Because the truth is, whilst a big event has happened, which is going to have significant impacts, it is going to change the state of the nation. It's going to be, going from the amazing United Kingdom to Little Britain. Okay, was that a little bit too soon for a joke like that? Well, it's really important to note it's going in another way. A lot hasn't changed. Today you've woken up, the sun has still come up, maybe not, maybe there's rain, but another day has started. Your feet are on the ground, you're breathing. All of those patterns are still there. So it's really important to first do whatever it takes to get yourself back to a neutral and go, even though I may not like what is going on, even though in no way does this feel perfect and great for me, connect back into yourself and go, it's okay and I'm okay. Because from that neutral place, then you can choose to go into what gear. But if you try and slam your engine, your vehicle, your brain, your money decisions into another gear, when you're currently maybe going in reverse, all you're going to do is really jam up that engine. So first thing, have a breath, cry if you need to, contact friends, but just whatever you do, leave your money alone. Do not go and get involved in it in this place. So that is the very first thing. So now let's look at what can be the possible impacts. So the first obvious one is what is going to be happening in the stock market. So absolutely expect the stock markets, the FTSE, so that's the London Stock Exchange, and the world markets to be having an absolute storm for absolutely today, for the next week. This might be a couple of weeks. It's going to be a storm. So I want you to think of an analogy of there's this big pond, and right now a huge boulder has been thrown into that pond. So there are ripples, there are waves, there are splashes. That doesn't mean the pond has changed. It's that an event has happened. So expect that volatility, and you can stand back, because as that boulder hits the water, it doesn't mean you've now got to completely redesign how you operate on it. So if normally you're on this beautiful lake in a gorgeous boat where maybe you fish on the side, you have your picnic, and now there are these waves going up from the boulder, you don't suddenly go, well, actually no longer is my boat appropriate for this. You might put your boat closer to the shore and you just sit it out and wait for that to die down, because it will die down. So if you start trying to make buying and selling decisions in this, you're going to make an absolute disastrous sight, because all you're going to be doing is you're going to be jumping right into those waves and expect to then get some of it in your eyes and up your nose and be choking and feeling very uncomfortable. Just step to the side and watch and notice. But here is really, really important point. The London Stock Exchange and London stock market, and most of the big companies listed on that stock market, in fact, are big international global companies. The reality is, in our financial world and the investing world, there are very few companies where in fact are impacted purely by being on that little island. There are global companies which have got markets in all over the world, in the US, in the Far East, in the Americas, in the Africas. So what is actually happening in there, and then what you're going to see happening on the stock exchange, is an emotional reaction. But it doesn't change the fundamentals, the underlying fundamentals of these companies. So this is so important to remember. Your investments in the stock market, through your index trackers, through those portfolios, you are invested in specific companies. Now, could this have some impact on the longer term financial well-being of those companies? Absolutely, because there might be some different tax regimes. But right now, if something is a good company, if its fundamentals are solid, if it has a market, if it is growing, if its earnings per share are growing, those fundamentals haven't changed overnight just because a few idiots decided they want to be out of the EU. But irrespective, I also want to put this in perspective. In the cycles of life, we go through cycles of going what we call the we states to the I states. And we have been going through a we state of unity, of collectiveness for about the last 15 years. And typically these cycles take between 20 and 25 years. And we are coming to an end of a we state. So I also want to just really, I know I'm veering off slightly, but for all of my amazing UK friends and colleagues and clients, please don't take this as a personal thing that somehow you don't know that you're also part of a wave of going from a we to an I. As humans, we swing through these pendulums. This is exactly what's happening in the US with the electioneering coming up, with the Trumpisms and the lunacy that's going on there. We're going swing to an I, where people are now swinging to separatism, wanting to see individual identity and sides. So you are just part of leading that wave, which we will be going through as we enter into the 2000s. And the end of every pendulum wave is always uncomfortable. It has always got these sides. And then we'll be going into an I, which will bring different opportunities. And then for about 20, 25 years, we'll be in an I state, and then we'll be swinging back to a we state. So when we can get perspective, we can also look for opportunities and go, well, so what does this mean? And there are always opportunities with every shift and change, because that's all it is. It is a shift and change. So going back to your stock market, why are we so rigorous about putting in place great investing habits and great habits around automating our investments so that we don't screw it up by letting our emotions come in? So let's just quickly recap that. You want to automate your stock market investments so that every month you've got that money going in and you're buying units in things like index trackers so you can manage risk of volatility. So right now, if you've got that in place, if the market does have a nice big dip, remember it's having a sale. Remember it's having a sale. Now, you could go in and buy a whole lot, but I wouldn't even necessarily say you do that. Trust that the systems and processes that you've put in place through your expanding your dough in Financial Freedom University, or if you're not in that, through the Wealth Chef book, understanding this regular investment and why it's so powerful for this thing like pound cost averaging is so important. So these are your systems, your tools, your habits. Start trusting the framework that you've put in place for your financial well-being. And they are put in place specifically for things like this. So it's your automated investment. It's buying things like index trackers, which are so key. So that while these storms go on, you don't have to panic. So that's the stock market. Yes, it's going to be having a bit of a bumpy ride. But remember, the underlying fundamentals haven't changed, and your systems and processes in place are there to protect your money from you and your emotions and riding out these storms. And in fact, your monthly contributions that will be going through in the next month or so actually are going to be buying you more units if the stock market is going right down now. And this is also really important why when you put that portfolio together of exchange traded funds or index trackers, you also have different markets. So there you go. You're sorted on that front. You can breathe. Let's look at currency reduction, because there's been a lot of noise on this side. People just go, oh my God, sterling has dropped now against all of the major currencies. In fact, it started weakening when the whole leaving the EU debate started coming to this place. And so it may very well weaken for a while and then strengthen. But here's the thing. Remember, there are always opportunities with everything. A weaker sterling is not necessarily a bad thing in the least. And I just want to welcome all of you Brits, all of you who work in sterling, to the world of the majority of us living in either developing countries or elsewhere where we've had far more volatile currencies for a long time. And so firstly, know while you're living and operating within a currency and working with that currency, your devalued currency doesn't actually really affect you day to day. So the things that you bought yesterday are still going to cost the same. You've still got that same. What it does affect is that maybe a foreign holiday might cost you a little bit more right now in certain countries. But actually, a weaker sterling also makes you and your UK-based products and services more cost effective. It makes them cheaper. And so you actually can have a net inflow. Tourism is then cheaper for you. So you can get more. So it actually makes you far more competitive. So it's really important to step back and actually go, what does this actually mean? Am I looking at these things from all sides and truly going, there's always opportunity with everything, and not just getting caught up into the drama because maybe that's, it's something that's gone away from a way that we didn't necessarily like. So really important to remember on that side. And then thirdly, remember that the reason why you are choosing to put in place a solid financial plan, to look after your own financial well-being and not just relying on the government for a state pension or to look after you, is for these exact reasons. We never know what may happen in the political or geopolitical landscape around us. The world is volatile wherever we are. Stuff happens, whether it's terrorism, whether it's just different political situations. And this is why it is so, so, so important that each and every one of us puts in place a conscious financial plan where we have emergency funds in place, where we're looking at what are our investments, and we know how we are able to then have across different asset groups and across different markets investments that can feed us and serve us, where we understand things like currency volatility, where we put insurances in place. And so for all of you who've started that journey or have it in place, really congratulate yourself and go, I am not just sort of a bit of driftwood floating on this ocean that needs to get buffeted by each of these waves. No, I'm actually the captain at the helm of my ship. And yes, there's some big waves coming along, but because I've got the skill sets and because I understand what's going on, I can rise above and I can ride these waves and actually just surf them and enjoy those big swells for a while, knowing that this too shall pass. And remember, there are many other risks out there. There's risks of what's happening in the US interest rates. There are risks of what's happening in the Chinese economy. This is just one factor. So whilst you might be feeling devastated today, and my heart goes out to you and my friends, I've got many friends and colleagues and clients who I'll say from Finland or Holland and living in the UK who are now wondering what that means for them. Again, I just say breathe and keep focusing on your goals and your dreams, because that is all ultimately any of us have, is what are the things that are in our control, what can we manage, and to keep that focus. And that is ultimately how we live this rich, wealthy, juicy life, is just keeping our center while all of this rest goes, and know that we are not defined by that. So today, thinking of you all, and just keep breathing and know it will all be okay and you've got this handled. So bye for now, because I'm going to go and have my hair cut. Love you loads. Bye.